There's no disagreement the Passaic River is a mess. It was an industrial waterway for decades and a convenient dumping ground for all sorts of toxic waste. One of the most notorious cases involved the Diamond Alkali Company, which used to produce the Vietnam War-era defoliant Agent Orange. But after more than 30 years of inactivity, the federal government is finally moving forward with plans to start removing from the river the contaminated mud loaded with dioxins, PCBs, and other pollutants. One question being raised, though, is there a better and less expensive way to deal with the problem? Paul Laren thinks so.
Most of the contamination is on our shorelines and the dangers along our shorelines. These mud flats that are exposed during low tide, you can visually see them.
Laren has lived in Newark for 40 years and is the president of Bionautics, a Staten Island firm he says practices sustainable ideas. Instead of dredging, he's proposing something called bulking and tiering, a process of isolating the contaminated mudflats behind a bulkhead and capping it with the salt marsh. Laren has the backing and support of the Passaic River Institute at Montclair State. Kirk Barrett is the director of the institute.
It's out-of-the-box thinking to put another bulkhead in front of an area and convert this mudflat or subtidal habitat into a salt marsh. But it has been done in a few other places, and it's, I think it's worth trying here and worth doing here. We would get some benefit out of it.
The bulking and tiering is just part of Laren's proposal. He also says once the contaminated mud is isolated behind the bulkhead, all you have to do is mix in a sweetener, something as basic as molasses, and nature will take care of the dioxins and PCBs. Dr. Paul Mankiewicz with the Gaia Institute in New York, a group focused on ecological restoration, says the science is proven.
All of the steps to take dioxins and PCBs all the way to full mineralization, as it's called, carbon dioxide and water and chloride, are present in the marsh plus the sediment column, which would be enriched with two things, with molasses on the one side, and then another great source is a bacterium that actually does the work of dechlorination. Dechlorocalcides is actually, you may like this, sludge cake from wastewater treatment plants.
It's ultimately up to the EPA to clean up the contamination in the river. They believe the best way to address this is by dredging the Passaic. And spokesman David Kleesner says they've set up a three-phase process, starting first with the cleanup of the river off the Diamond Alkali site.
Whatever cleanup projects that are ultimately implemented by EPA, we want to coordinate those with the work of the Army Corps of Engineers, which has responsibility for restoration projects, restoring watershed environments. It needs to make sense in terms of commercial navigation. So the sediment cleanup and the restoration work needs to be coordinated with the municipalities, their vision for the river and its shoreline.
Some people like Paul Laren have raised health concerns over stirring up the PCBs and dioxins by dredging the Passaic.
We're looking to create an alternative to dredging by installing these recycled plastic sheet piles some 16 feet down into the water for the purpose of saving lives. I mean, the Cancer League has predicted that the dredging activities in the river can cause 10 to 15,000 new cases of cancer because of the dangers of dredging the river. I think it's a worthy cause. I think they should at least let us put one together, because this is science, and science should be studied.
EPA spokesman David Kleesner says the dredging they're proposing as part of Phase 1 will take place behind large cofferdams.
This removal of 200,000 cubic yards of the dioxin sediment involves installation of vertical steel walls into the river, so that basically we are pulling the material out within that enclosed steel box, so that we minimize or prevent release of contaminants downriver or upriver during the actual cleanup.
The Passaic River Institute is pushing to try the bulking and tiering proposal, but the Institute's Kirk Barrett admits it's been a tough sell.
We developed a proposal to do the planning for this and do the engineering drawings and submitted it to the EPA's Harbor Estuary program a few months ago, and it was turned down. And I think one of the reasons was it was kind of an experimental thing that was perceived as risky, and also the idea of that because of this contamination here, makes it a little bit risky.
The EPA expects to proceed on Phase 1 of the dredging in about a year's time. Phase 2 would focus on the lower 8 miles of the river, with Phase 3 addressing all 17 miles up to the Dundee Dam in Garfield. You can find links to the EPA's cleanup of the Passaic, as well as Paul Laren's dredging alternative, on our website at wbgonews.org. This is the WBGO Journal. I'm Andrew Meyer.